Kakadosh Boker or Daf Yomi Masechet Sanhedrin Daf Pei Daled Amud Aleph 84A1. We're going to finish the chapter now, and then we're going to start the new Perek as well, Perek Asiri, the 10th chapter. Says the Gemara, we're talking about right now an onen. How do we know that a person that is an onen is not allowed to serve in the Bet HaMikdash? Remember, an onen is somebody whose family member passes away, closest of kin, and they still do not bury them. So that's called an onen. How do we know they're not allowed to serve in the Bet HaMikdash? Tichtiv, it says in the pasuk, that they're not allowed to come. It says over there to do with Aaron Kohen, that he was a Kohen Gadol. So if the Kohen Gadol is Umina Mikdash lo yetzeh v'lo yechal mikdash lo lahav, it's mashma that if it's not the Kohen Gadol and it's a regular Kohen, right? So it's mashma ha'acher shelo yetza is chilel avodato. Meaning only by the Kohen Gadol is there a special heter that he's supposed to stay in the Bet HaMikdash, even though he is an onen. But other than the Kohen Gadol, you're not allowed to. So ask the Gemara, Amaleh Ravada Ravina says Ravada to Ravina, Penelaf, so why don't we learn a Gzera Shava that he's going to be Chayav Mita B'dei Shamayim from Chilul Miturma? Meaning, just like by Truma it's written V'lo Yechalel, and it's written here Umetivol Luhu by the Truma, so therefore, right, Mala Halam Mita, so to Aronen should be Mita. So says the Gemara, so why do we say right now that Ononen is only Bazara and there's no Chiyuv Mita? There should also be a Chiyuv Mita. So says the Gemara, Miktiv begufei. Does it say chilul to do with the Kohen Idiot? That when he's serving it? Miklal akati. It's a miklal, meaning like this. Where do we learn that a Kohen Idiot should not serve? We said, since by the Kohen Gadol, it says that he's not supposed to leave the Bet HaMikdash, we infer from there. Infer from there means that we're going to come and we're going to take backwards, right? The what? That we infer from there that a Kohen Idiot should not. So davar haba min haklal, Havi. It's considered davar haba min haklal, kol davar haba min haklal, and danin oto b'gzera shava. Says the Gemara now, Yoshev min alan. How do we know that if a person is sitting and doing the service in the Bet HaMikdash, how do you know you're not allowed to do that? So Amar Rabba ben Nachman says, Rabba the name of Nachman, Amar Kra, it says in Pasuk, Ki vo bachar Hashem lokecha mikol shvadecha la'amod l'shareh b'shem Hashem. Ki HaKadosh Baruch Hu is choosing him from all the different tribes in order to stand and to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So mashma la'amida becharti v'lo yeshiva. I only chose him for standing and not for sitting, which means that the avodah is going to be pasul when you sit. You have to be standing when you're doing the avodah. Okay? Okay, the Gemara in Zevachim is going to ask, why shouldn't it be chayav mita b'dei shamayim? Because if it's already considered that he's sitting, so kilu he's a stranger, so why don't you say that he's going to be chayav mita b'dei shamayim? There's a Gemara there in Masechet Zevachim. What about now balmum? Balmum that serves in the Bet HaMikdash. Balmum means he's got a blemish, right? Rabbi says b'mita, he gets mita b'dei shamayim. Chachamim omrim azhara, it's a warning. You're not allowed to, but it's only a warning. My Tama the Rabbi, what's the reasoning of Rabbi? It says in a pasuk, he's not allowed to come into the parochet. He's got a mum. Again, chilul v'yaliv chilul mitruma. We make a gzera shava chilul from truma, just like if somebody eats truma, right? If it's gonna be, he's gonna be tameh, he gets mita b'dei shamayim. So too, when it's gonna be a balmum that is mishamesh inside of the Bet HaMikdash, it's gonna be mita b'dei shamayim. So ask the Gemara, V'neilaf, so why do we learn the Gzera Shava chilul minotar? That it should be from notar, that you're not allowed to eat it. Okay? But he says, Mala halam bekaret, afkam bekaret, it should be even a higher level. Remember that karet is a higher level than mita b'dei shamayim. So we're asking, why don't you compare it to notar and not to teruma? So answers the Gemara, mistabra b'truma v'lemeilaf, shekem psul aguf mipsul aguf. Remember that a balmum, it's a psul in the goof, in the body. Right? Why? Because his body has a blemish. The same thing with Truma, it's in the body that his body is tameh. Notar is nothing. Notar just means leftovers. You are 100% pure. You're okay. You just leftover meat from the Bet HaMikdash. So that's called notar. So that has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with your body. So because of that, it's more logical to compare it to Tiruma than to compare it to notar. Okay? Adraba, ask the Gemara the opposite. You should have learned it from notar. Sheken lekodesh, right? Panim, pigul, venotar. There's going to be 4 comparisons to notar. Number 1, Notar is kodesh. What does it mean, kodesh? It's something of holiness. Here, you are a kohen balmum doing kodesh. So that's going to be holy to holy. Number two, pnim, everything's inside the Bet HaMikdash. Meaning, notar is inside of the Bet HaMikdash, and you serving the Bet HaMikdash is inside the Bet HaMikdash. Truma, you could eat in your house. Number 3 and 4, pigul and notar. So therefore, you see from here that there's 4 comparisons to notar instead of truma. So answers the Gemara, Ela mitamesh shimesh kamar. You're right. We are learning mitabide shemaim for a balmum from somebody that's tameh, that he serves inside the Bet HaMikdash. Psula guf mipsula guf, because it's psula guf mipsula guf. Kodesh, pnim, pigul venotar. So mi kodesh, pnim, pigul venotar, which means there's going to be 4 comparisons for somebody that's tameh, which is mishamesh, right? More, right? And so one more time, you have a person that's tameh, which is serving the Bet HaMikdash, and you have a person that's balmum, that's serving the Bet HaMikdash. It's the same comparisons. They're both kodesh, because he's serving the Bet HaMikdash. They're both pnim, it's inside the Bet HaMikdash, not outside. They're both going to be, they're both going to apply pigul venotar. So that's much better than comparing it to anything else. But according to the rabbis that it said it's only b'azara, Amakra, it says in the pasuk, bo umetu bo ki chalu, bo velo bevalmum. It says only that somebody that eats truma is going to be chayav mitabid shemayim. Bo umetu bo, the guy that does that, velo, right, balmum. Okay, next, hezid b'milah. What happens if a person is going to come and he's going to over b'mezid on isur milah? Remember, milah is hegdesh, something consecrated to the Bet HaMikdash. And somebody purposely, that's mezid, hezid, somebody purposely came and he benefited from it. So Rabbi says that it's going to be B'tav Shemayim, and Chachamim say it's only going to be an azara, a warning. My time at Rabbi, what's the reasoning of Rabbi? Amar Yavu, says Rabbi Yavu, Gamar het mitruma. We're making Gzera Sheva het from truma. You're not allowed to eat tum'ah. Right? What does that mean? It says chet by milah, but it says nefesh kitum olmal v'chatea bishkaga mikoche Hashem, and it says chet by eating truma tmeah. So he says v'lo yisu alav chet umetu bo ki chalu. Ma lehalan, just like over there, if you eat truma betum'ah, it's going to be mitabidei shemayim. So 2 years, it's going to be mitabidei shemayim. But Rabbanan, and according to the rabbis, how many they say? Amarkar, the pasuk says umetu bo ki chalu, bo v'lo b'milah. Again, the same thing. That since it's written umetu bo, it's only they are going to die, right, and not here. Recording in progress. Zara sheshimesh b'mikdash. If a stranger serves in the Bet HaMikdash, Tanya, we learned in a Braita. Bishmael Omer Bishmael says, Ne'emar kan, it says in a pasuk, ve'azara karev yumat, that the stranger that's going to bring him close is going to die. Ve'ne'emar hal, and it says over there, kol karev, right, kol karev v'mishkan Hashem, right, yamut. What does that mean? Well, you have to make a pasek, by the way, after Mishkan Hashem and then Yamut. Because you don't want to say Hashem Yamut. So you have to do Mishkan Adonai Yamut, right? So he says like this. He says, if somebody is going to be bring close, it's Gzera Shava, when it says Yumat, so Male Halan, just like over there, we're talking about Adat Korach. So it says Bidei Shamayim. So 250 people were killed Bidei Shamayim. So to hear Zara Sheshimesh, a stranger that serves in Bet HaMikdash, is going to be Chayav Bidei Shamayim. Rabbi Kiva says, Ne'emar kan, it says Vazara Karev Yumat. I mean, and it says over there, that's to do with Navi, which turns people to do Avodah Zarah. It says, Vanaviyahu, Cholemahu, Yumat. Mala halan b'skila, so to your skila, meaning it comes out that if somebody serves in the Bet HaMikdash, he gets sekila according to the Shita, the highest form of punishment. Just like over there, it's a Navi that's trying to make people to do Avodah Zarah. Rabbi Yochanan says, no. He says, just like over there, it's Chenek, so to here, it's going to be Chenek. So so what's the machloket then? One more time. You had 3 different shitot. Either mitabidei shemayim, sekila, or chenek. The same avira. Hazara karev yumat. You're a zad. You're a stranger. You go in the Bet HaMikdash and you serve the Bet HaMikdash. What's your punishment? 3-way machloket. Rabbi Ishmael, mitabidei shemayim. Rabbi Akiva, sekila. Rabbi Yochanan Menuri, chenek. Says the Gemara, what's the machloket between them? Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Akiva. So he says, Rabbi Akiva savar daninu yumat. Danin yumat. We learn yumat. Then danin yumat mean yamut. There's a difference between yumat, that he shall die, and yamut, he will die. What does that mean? Rabbi Ishmael Savar, so therefore according to him, that's why you cannot compare the two, and therefore it's not going to be sekila, because there it was written, V'azar akarev yumat, kol akarev akarev mishkan Hashem yamut. So you're not going to learn yumat from yamut. Okay, yumat means you have to put him to death. Yamut is he will die. So therefore, you cannot compare the two of them together. That is the shita of Rabbi Akiva, and therefore, obviously, it's not going to be mitabidei shemaim. It's going to be sekila. Rabbi Ishmael Savar danin hediot me'hediot. You're going to do a simple person for a simple person by Korach, if they were simple people doing the service in Bet HaMikdash. So they die. So to here, they're going to die. It's a simple person doing the service in Bet HaMikdash. Then danin hediot minavi. So hediot is not a navi. He's not a prophet that's causing people to do avodah zarah. But according to Rabbi Akiva, Kevin Sheidiach, since the Navi came and he put somebody to do avodah zarah, en lecha hediot gadol mizeh. That's the biggest hediot that you have. So that's why it is like a hediot. So that's why, okay, now we understood the difference between Rabbi Ishmael and Rabbi Akiva. One more time, Rabbi Ishmael says mita b'dei shamayim because he learns it from Korach, and Rabbi Akiva learns it from Sekila, from the Navi HaSheket, right? That he comes and he turns people to do avodah zarah. But my kamipel is a machlok between Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Yochanan and Uri. Beplukta, it's a machlok between Rabbi Shimon and Rabbanan. The Tanyas we learned in a Braita, Navi shidiach b'skila. Rabbi Shimon omer bechenek. Everyone agrees that what happens now if you're going to have a Navi that he brings people to do avodah zarah. So the machloket is, according to Rabbi Shimon, he gets chenek. According to Rabbanan, it's sekila. So therefore, right, Hanan Tramba, we learned Rabbi Akiva says it's going to be bechenek. So he says there's a machloket, what is shitat Rabbi Akiva? Trei Tanaya, libed Rabbi Akiva. There's a machloket in Rabbi Akiva, matniti in Rabbi Shimon, right, that he says aliva de Rabbi Akiva, and the Braita is Rabbanan aliva de Rabbi Akiva, meaning there's going to be a machloket. Do we hold that a zar sheshimesh is like a navi shein idiach? But the question is, what is the punishment? Is the punishment that you have a machloket in Rabbi Akiva? What is the punishment? Is the punishment sekila, or is the punishment what? Chenek. But they all agree that you're comparing it to the Navi Sheidiach. Okay? Adran alach, Eluhen hanisrafim. We just finished a chapter of Eluhen hanisrafim. Morning in progress. Good morning. We are now on Peidalad Amud Bet 84b. Perek Eluhen hanechenakim. This is the chapter of Eluhen hanechenakim, which is the 10th chapter. Perek Asiri. Okay? Says the Mishnah, Eluhen hanechenakim. These are the people that are going to be chayav chenek. Hamakeh aviv imo. If somebody hits his father or his mother. Gonev nefesh in Israel, he kidnaps a Jew. Zaken mamre al pi bedina. Zaken mamre that comes and he rebels against the bedin. Remember, he's a dayan, so he goes against the bedina gadol that are sitting in Lishkat HaGazit, and he doesn't accept their authority, so he's called a zaken mamre. Benavi sheken, somebody that's going to be a navi sheken. Vamitznabe b'shem odel kochavim, somebody that's going to say nevuah in the name of odel kochavim. Abale shetish, somebody has relations with a married woman. Domim bat kohen uboala. Or the Zomim of the Bat Kohen and the one that had the relations with her, the lover. Okay? These are all the cases of Henek. Says the Gemara. And how do we know that somebody hates his father and his mother? He gets Henek. It says in the Pasuk Makeh Aviv Imo Motumat. Kol mita mura betorah stam ena ela Henek. This we told the doctor the other day. We just learned it again here. What does that mean? Anytime that the Torah says stam mita, that means Henek. So since it says stam makeh aviv ve'imo mot yumat, so automatically that means chenek. So ask the Gemara, ema dekati lemiktal. Says no, maybe the Torah is only going to say that if you kill your father with that hit, then you're chayav mita. Who told you stam that you hit them that you're chayav mita? Maybe you have to kill them. So says the Gemara, salka daita katal chad b'saif aviv bechenek. It doesn't make sense. Are you going to tell me that if somebody kills somebody else, right? They come and they kill someone. What is the death penalty? Saif, headache. And now if he kills his own father, it's going to be a lower death penalty. It's going to be chenek. How does that make sense? How would you ever even understand that if a person kills his father is lighter than killing somebody else? Doesn't make sense. So hani chalamandamar, that's only good according to the mandamar, according to the rabbis, the chenek is kal. But according to Rabbi Shimon, that says chenek is more chamur, ma'ikalemim, what are you going to say? He says, it says, makeh ish vamet mot yumat. When you hit a man and he dies, mot yumat, uchtiv, and it says, ove vayikau biyado, if with animosity he came and he hit him with his hand, rava yamot, and he dies. Shema mina, we learn from here, kol heichadika ka stam, anytime that there's going to be haka'ah, there's not mita. Meaning, on a normal case, there's not mita if you hit somebody else. So since it's now bringing a special halacha to do with hitting a parent, and it says mot yumat, so obviously it has to be that it's not that he's killing him, because the regular hitting is not killing, right? Over there, the regular. That's what he's saying. He's saying whenever it says hakastam, there's no death. So here, when it says umakia vivi imo, it means that there's no death, and still mot yumat. So he still gets killed. So obviously means that he hit them, but he didn't kill them. Because when it's written haka'a, it means that what? That obviously he didn't kill them. Okay? Because there it says makeish vamet mot yumat, haka'a, and it says mot yumat. What does mot yumat mean? That they shall die. But then it says, o be'eva yikau biyado v'yamot. So it's mashma stam haka'a is not that there's going to be a death penalty. Okay? Ve'itzrich lemichtav, right? And he says, and we have to learn, right? Makeish, ve'itzrich lemichtav kol makeh nefesh. And you have to learn both of them. It says, why? De'i katav rachmanam, as if it was only written makeish vamet, havamina ish, right? So dvar mitzvah in katan lo. I would have thought to say that it has to be somebody that's bar mitzvah, that he's chayav mitzvot, so he's already 13 years. But if he killed a katan, he's not going to be chayav mitah. Meaning, if somebody comes and he kills a minor, he's not chayav mitah. Katav rachmana. That's why the Torah comes and it says, right? That's why the Torah comes and it says, kol makeh nefesh, right? V'hi katav rachmana navi. It's written kol makeh nefesh. Havamina, I would have thought to say afilu nefalim, even if he kills a nefel, afilu ben shmona, or an 8-month-old pug. Tzriche. That's why you need it. Okay. Ve'ima peidalad amubet. Yeah, 84b. So ve'ima no. Maybe I'm going to say afal gav delo avid be chabura, even though you didn't make a blemish. Not a blemish. Not a blemish. A wound, right? Chabura is a wound. So maybe even though you didn't make a wound. So lama tran. So why do we learn? You're only going to be chayav. Meaning like this: if somebody comes to a parent and he smacks him, but he doesn't make a wound, he's not chayav mitah. It's only when he makes a wound is he chayav mitah. So Amar Kra, the pasuk says, "Makeh adam makeh be'ema." Just like by makeh be'ema, davad b'chabura, until you make a chabura, but it says tichti nefesh, makeh nefesh be'ema yishalmena. So to hear makeh adam until you make a chabura, because it's part of the nefesh. Remember, when you make a chabura wound, the blood moves, and the blood is the nefesh of the adam. How does a wound come? Because it makes a wound inside, and that's what's going on. So he says, Matki Rabbi Yirmiyah comes and he asks the following question. Ela me'ata, they're going to ask, Hechisha ba'avanim. If right now he made it weaker with stones, hachanami, you're going to tell me now hachanami that you're not going to be mechayev. So he says, "Ela barado imenu ninyan nefesh be'ema." If it has nothing to do with nefesh be'ema, right? The ha'inami hechisha b'avanim chayav. You should give it to nefesh adam, which means that we're going to learn from here that makeh aviv is not going to be chayav until yakeh haka nefesh, which means that it has a chabura. Ela barado, he says it's a hekesha, it's a hekesh. You know what a hekesh is? Juxtaposition. Close proximity. When you have two things written beside each other, so you apply them together, the same halachot together, right? That's called a hekesh. So he says, like Hechal Elmaleh. So why do I need a hekesh? It was a hekesh makeh adam to makeh be'ema. So he says lechtan v'chizkiah, to that which we learned in the Tanat v'chizkiah, that we learned over there, that if somebody does an avera b'mezid, he's chayav mitat betin, and the same thing if he does something which is going to be chayav mamon, he's going to be patur from the mamon, because we say kim lebedraba mine basically. So therefore, the same halacha would apply over here. Just like by makeh be'ema, there's no difference if he did it v'shogeg u'mezid, he's always chayav to be mishalem. So to do the makeh adam, there's no difference between if he killed him shogeg u'mezid, right? But he's not going to be that. So he says kim lebedraba mine. So to here, he's not going to be chayav because of kim lebedraba mine. So hani chalaman damar, that's good according to the man damar the itle that he holds like Tana v'chizkiah, but according to the man damar that doesn't hold the Tana v'chizkiah, why do I need a hekesh? So he says, "Mama ke behema lirfua patur." Just like when you come and you hit a behema, you're not he's obligated for refuah. He says over here to do with refuah, he's patur. He doesn't have to pay for the doctor's bills, right? But he only has to pay for the nezik, right? So, for example, let's say he came and he took out blood in order to come and to heal the animal. So he's going to be patur from paying from it, because he was actually helping the animal. So to makeh adam nilfuah is going to be patur. So if you have a human being that he went and he started taking out blood, and when you take out blood, many times there's a bruise afterwards, right? You come and take a bloodlet, there's a bruise. So he says you're going to be patur. Even though you made a chabura, you're going to be patur. Why? Because here you're helping, you're not damaging. So anything that you're helping, you're not damaging, you're going to be patur. Because we asked this question. Ben, can a child come and be Mekiz dam for the father? So Rav Matan Amar v'avtaracha kamocha, which means that Ben Adam lechavero, right? He comes and he says, is that if you want, so then you're allowed to. Why? Because just like somebody else would want you to take out their blood, right? Bloodletting, especially in the olden days, was considered a refuah. Nowadays, we just do it, just check the blood to make sure that there's no infections or, to check. Yeah, exactly. So they used to get rid of the blood. So therefore, it was actually a refuah. So he says, "V'avtaracha kamocha." What? You want to love if you want that people should do it for you, you should do it for them. So he says, Rav Dimi bar Chanina Amar, bar Chinan Amar, Makeh Adam, Makeh Be'ema. Just like Makeh Be'ema, refuah is going to be patur. So to here, Makeh Adam is going to be for refuah, is going to be patur. So it's going to be patur. Rav lo shavik libre lemishka lesilva. But Rav, he didn't let his son take out even a kotz. Imagine he had a thorn in his skin. He didn't let his son take it out. And Rabbi Ravina also didn't let his son come and lemiftach lekavta, to take out the lecha, the pus from a thing. Dilma chavil, just in case chas shalom, he would cause a chabura, v'havele shigat isur, and then it's a shogeg in an isur of makeh aviv. Meaning he didn't want that his child would come. That means if you have a child that he's a doctor, many times he didn't allow them to do, because if not, it would actually cause, even if chas shalom something by accident. But he didn't want them to do an isur even by accident. If so. So then says the Gemara 1 second, but if you're going to tell me then it's a sur, so there anybody should be a sur. Meaning, I'm not your son. I shouldn't take out a thorn, because just in case I make you a chabura, again, it's shigigat isur, right? Because it's nothing to do with the child. It has to do with that you're doing something that could be a problem. So he says, acher is shigigat lav. It's a negative commandment. So if I did it by accident and it wasn't my intention, it's going to be okay. Here, if it's his son, it's shigat chenek. If he actually does it purposely, what does he get? The death penalty. He gets strangulation. So over here, if he does it by accident, but it's a mistake it's an accident on strangulation, it's a much higher isur. Meaning it's much better to get somebody else than to get your own son. The haditnan, and that which we learned on the Mishnah, machat shel yad. We're talking about a small little tiny needle. They told by the courts to take out a splinter, right? To take out a piece of wood. Why don't we suspect that maybe it's going to take out blood? Meaning on Shabbat, if you're going to come and you're going to take out the splinter, maybe you're going to cause it to bleed. Imagine a person gets a little tiny splinter, a little tiny piece of wood stuck in it. He's going to take a little needle, and if he does that, it could cause. Now there, it's shegigat sekila. If a person is mechalel Shabbat and he takes out blood on Shabbat, that's sekila. So answers the Gemara, hata mekalkelhu. There it's mekalkel. Remember, any time on Shabbat that you do something which is destructive, it's only nisur d'Rabbanan of mekalkel, right? Mekalkel means that you're doing something, you're destroying something, right? Because remember, in Shabbat, you always need melechem machshavim. Melechem machshavim means you need a positive outcome. If you're doing something which is destructive, it's not a positive outcome, it's only nisur d'Rabbanan, it's not nisur d'Oraita. So he says over there, it might be a shogeg on something which is mekalkel, so there's no isur doraita. That's good. According to the mandamar, the mekalkel is going to be patur on Shabbat. But according to the mandamar, you're going to be chayav sekila even on mekalkel. What are you going to say? So he says, man shama, who's the one that holds mekalkel b'chabura is going to be chayav? Rabbi Shimon. It's going to be Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon, according to Rabbi Shimon, pehei amud aleph on the top, kol melacha shen tzechal gufa patur leah. When you have a melacha shen tzechal gufa, you're patur. Everyone understands what is a melacha shen tzechal gufa. I'll explain to you. If you do a melacha that you don't actually need the melacha, it's called melacha that you don't actually need the melacha. So for example, I'm going to turn off the fire. When I turn off the fire, I didn't gain from the turning off the fire. I gained that I didn't want the fire, but it's not a positive gain. Cutting nails. I didn't gain from the nails, right? If I'm going to use the nails for firewood, right, or to use for something, then yes, then I'm gaining from the nails, right? But the actual melacha, I didn't gain from the melacha in itself. So anything which is negative, or I'm taking, so I'm not gaining from that. Melacha she'en tzechal gufa, you're going to be patur. Okay, so for example, I came and I took a handkerchief and I stuck it into a barrel in order to stop, right, the what's it called? In order to stop the barrel from leaking. When I plugged it in, some of it may be squeezed, but it went to waste. So if it went to waste, it's called melacha she'en tzechal gufa, because I didn't gain from the melacha, the squeezing, it went to waste. If I'm gaining from it, oh yes, it's going to be a problem. But if I'm not getting, melacha she'en tzechal gufa is going to be patur. Okay?